Many people are interested in the history of their family. This is not unusual in a nation of immigrants, where most of the citizens descend from people who come from someplace else. The descendants of American slaves, who were unwilling immigrants 200 years ago, who were forced to America and forced to abandon their African heritage and culture, their descendants have a special challenge. But the history can be documented, and a very rich historical tradition awaits those that are able to tell their family story. One man in Arkansas had a strong interest in learning about his own personal history, one Carl A. Redus of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Mr. Redus is a man of distinction in his community, serving as mayor of this small Arkansas city. Born and raised in Pine Bluff himself, he had some knowledge of his family history, noting that his father had come from Searcy, Arkansas, in White County. But beyond family ties in White County, it was sometimes said that there were ties to Alabama, but not much data on the family line in Alabama was known. The task was to find this Redus family. His father was Carl Redus Sr., son of Frank Redus of Alabama, but there was no additional information about the family and their history. In 1930, Frank Redus and wife Hattie and their many children lived on Oak Street in Searcy, Arkansas. He worked as a driver for an ice truck. His wife Hattie at that time occasionally took in laundry to contribute to the family household. Frank and his family owned their own home, valued at a modest $1,600. The 1920 census would yield far greater information. Frank Redus was listed as a laborer on the census record, and his wife Hattie was enumerated working in her profession as a school teacher for the public school system. In the 1920s, the educational system in Arkansas was a segregated one, and Hattie Redus taught in this historically black school in Searcy, the only school for colored children in the community. In 1920, the children were all under 10, and they lived in the community of Ball Knob in White County. There was a possibility, noting the difference in their ages, that suggested that this might have been a second marriage for Frank. If that was so, could it be found a marriage to another woman? In 1910, a younger Frank Redus was enumerated, living alone, and as was thought, there was no wife with him, for he was a widower. Would Frank Redus be in Arkansas in 1900, noting that he was originally born in Alabama? Would he be found with the previous wife, and did they have children? There again, in the township of Ball Knob, Arkansas, the record would reveal that Frank had arrived in Arkansas by that time, and he was enumerated with his first wife, Henrietta. They were newlyweds and had been married for only 2 months. The census was taken in June of 1900, and that placed their marriage in April of that year. He worked as a track layer for the railroad, and his wife Henrietta worked as a cook. Both Frank and young wife Henrietta were literate, and the record clearly indicated that when asked, they indeed affirmed that they had the ability to read and write. Most importantly, in 1900, information was provided about his birth. He was born in March of 1869. He and both of his parents were all Alabama born. Thus, the quest to document this Alabama-rooted family begins.